In this video, we're going to react to some viral media day setups. We're going to talk about what makes a media day good, and I'm going to show you some behind the scenes from a recent media day that I did that was quite simple and effective that you can replicate if you want a good media day that you can execute pretty easily. Hey, what's going on? My name is Peter Sarellas. I'm a videographer and editor from Toronto, Canada. I specialize in sports videography. If you watch the channel a lot, you'll probably notice that I'm not in my normal set right now. There's a big power outage and I've basically been kicked out of my house, so I'm filming at an alternate spot today, and I'm also losing my voice a little bit, so we're persevering here today. But we're going to talk about media day stuff. I filmed a media day recently, and I'm actually going to film one again in like a couple days. That's going to be a much bigger set, so we're going to basically today talk about like what makes a media day good, and we're going to react to some on my phone here that I've seen online that I've kind of drawn some inspiration from, or that I think are doing things really well. So I'm just going to start a screen recording here, and we're going to talk about this first media day set. And this one's a really interesting one to me. It's actually from the NCAA Women's March Madness tournament that's happening right now. The Final Four wrapped up yesterday at the time of this recording. I'm sure the whole tournament's going to be done by the time you see this video, but it's this one here from rocktown.media. I've seen some of their stuff on Instagram, and it's just like so cool. And they don't do setups that are like too crazy. It seems like a couple strobes on a black background and a bunch of smoke. And they got like colors that are specific to the team who they're filming. But they're getting some really interesting results here, and they're doing a really good job of playing with props. Like, I think that this shot at the end here of Caitlin Clark with the Sports Center top 10 chain is just so cool and creative. And this type of post goes to show that when you're filming a media day, you don't necessarily need to be like over the top with it and do a whole bunch of crazy stuff. You can have a really simple setup, but as long as you can do something to bring personality out of the players who you're filming or taking photos of. In this case, they used lots of props and they incorporated the coach, and they had fun ideas for poses and movements the players could do going into it. Like, when you can get a player into it like that, you can get some really cool stuff. Like, this mini net thing is just so funny. And like, obviously that's a great way to loosen players up, to get them to act natural on camera and have fun with it. And I think that if you actually go look at their account, because they do a lot of media day stuff, they're constantly finding fun ways to get players involved, do cool things that they like, and make them as enthusiastic about the media day as we are as videographers or photographers. It's well thought out, and they're pros, and that's why these guys always pop off on Instagram. The next one I want to look at is this one from the Cavs that I really liked, and I specifically liked this because of how simple it is. It's just two walls that are semi-transparent with some glitter on them. Obviously, there's not a lot of room for movement on a set like this, but if you're shooting a bunch of close-ups, if you're okay with just getting some generic poses like arms crossed, pointing at the camera, flexing, that type of thing, then this background just looks like abstract and surreal. So a setup like this, as long as you're thoughtful with designing the two slabs that you're positioning in like a corner shape, can be really good, especially if you're in a situation where you have to cycle a ton of people through a media day setup for a couple photos. There's a simple set like this where you can walk in, flex, point at the camera, show us the name on your jersey, and get out in 5 minutes is fantastic. And I think that the end result in a photo like this just looks super cool. Now, this media day set I thought was awesome. It's again really simple. It's just one top-down light as kind of your key for the subject, some tube lights in the background to create some visual interest, a bunch of smoke, and they just have a black backdrop behind. But they've got this player on a treadmill, and that's what really made this rather simple but still very nice setup stand out to me, because a lot of the time trying to get players to move when they're not in a position where they are naturally able to do so can seem really forced. Like, throwing a football to a guy and just having him catch it while he stands still is not the same as him running and jumping and catching a football. And you can tell from the way that their muscles look, from the facial expression, that it's not quite the same. But a small treadmill like this is kind of perfect, because you don't need a big space for the athlete to move around, but they still look like they're legitimately running, because they are legitimately running in your very cool stylized setup. And this, I think, is just so versatile because you can have them catch balls while they run. You can have them run like sideways if they're in coverage or something. Maybe they're a defensive player. Just like a super unique type of setup that I've never seen before. And I saved it to this folder because I want to kind of draw some inspiration from something like this and figure out more creative ways that we can get athletes actually moving on their media day sets, not just posing as if they just caught a ball or as if they're throwing a ball or something of that nature. And now let's talk about this media day that I filmed recently. So I posted this on my Instagram, which you can go check out. It's going to be linked down in the description. But basically, this setup was just 4 tube lights. So 2 diagonal with the main color on these jerseys, which was purple, and then 2 on the side as backlights. 1 really harsh backlight, which was an Amaran P60X, and then 1 key light, which was also an Amaran P60X. Unfortunately, we were filming this in a hotel, so I wasn't able to use a smoke machine or anything, but if I was, I would have definitely brought a smoke machine in here and just hazed up the whole room. And then this flashing effect, which I got going on, which you can see just looks like a camera flash basically, but on camera, it's like revealing and then silhouetting the actual subject, is the Amaran P60X. It has all these like presets. So there's like a fireworks preset, a cop car preset, and this is the paparazzi preset, which like looks like a bunch of cameras flashing. So I figured it'd be perfect for like revealing our subject's face and then masking him into the shadows, because I think the backlighting looks so good when you're filming a media day. When you're setting up a simple set, I definitely recommend doing black background, some level of visual interest in the back, whether that's going to be certain props or whether it's going to be tube lights, or I think that's like the most generic one that you see online, or anything of that nature. A hard backlight that's ideally low and pointing up to separate your subject from that black background, which especially helps if they're wearing a dark jersey like this player was here. And then a key light, and you can start with your key light just on fairly generically, like in some of the shots you're seeing here, and you can have it flash and do other different effects. And it's a pretty straightforward way of setting up a media day using a few tube lights, a couple of small portable, essentially single person content creator LED panels, and a little bit of creativity in a small space. Also, I somehow forgot to mention this, but definitely like play some music at your media day, bring in a big speaker, curate a playlist, just make sure the vibes are good so people don't come in there and feel awkward. Getting a good playlist going so that guys can like dance around, kind of do poses to the beat of the song and just feel more comfortable is huge. So like always pack a big speaker and curate a good playlist. That's the key. But yeah, back to the video. This is all assuming that the goal of your media day, of course, and maybe I should have touched on the goal of a media day at the start of this video, but assuming the goal of your media day is to capture photo and video where your athlete or athletes in question look cool for promotional purposes in game, on billboards, on digital, any of that type of stuff, then I think this type of thing is a way to do it if you don't have necessarily an NFL, NBA type of budget and you're trying not to break the bank. Maybe you can only do it for like a few $100 or $1,000. That tried and true, straightforward recipe of a backlight, some visual interest in the back, a key light that can do some effects and some smoke in a can or a smoke machine is kind of great. And I know that that's not like groundbreaking stuff or anything, but it's something that I've leaned on a lot. And since I'm kind of in that season in my year where I'm doing more media days and filming more promotional assets to prepare for the upcoming CFL season, I figured I'd talk about my rationale for capturing some of this stuff quickly when we're traveling in a different city. I don't have a ton of resources on my hand and I've just got to get something that looks cool on a bit of a time crunch. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you liked this and found it helpful. If you have any other tips for media days and stuff that you do when you have to essentially just film players looking cool for promotional purposes, let me know in the comments, because this is my experience, but it's kind of limited experience. I'm by no means an expert. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, because I post videography and video editing tips and tutorial videos similar to this one on a regular basis and would love to have you around for that. But that's going to be all for today. So until next time, peace.